station of life, I would be a fool to aspire for great corner kicks in the soccer fields, of course. But as for other areas where I have worked over the decades, politics, economy, diplomacy, society, and whatnot, as a journalist, I can fire one, two, or one too many corner kicks, mostly against the establishment once in a while, can't I? So, with that vision in mind, I'm presenting to you all corner kick. So, first of all, I welcome you all to the program, and I also request you to subscribe to this channel, comment on our presentation, and press that like button. Why? Because we are trying to promote citizen journalism, an independent, a truly independent strain of journalism that is far from corporate feed and greed. So, welcome to the program. Today's corner kick is titled, I just forgot what the title is. That is, it's all about Nepal's shrinking sovereign space as our two giant neighbors march towards that much promised Asian century, even as the reigning superpower also just tries to strengthen, to just increase its footprint in what many analysts describe as what else but the cockpit of Asia. So it's titled Snapped Connectivity, Great Power, Rivalry, and Nepal's what else but the strategic choices. My phone is broken, perhaps as a result of my fiddling with it. The laptop snaps every now and then, and so does my thought process. Surprisingly, I see no foreign hand in life's little inconveniences like these. Flickers of old reports come to mind, and I muster enough courage to write and present this so once again, not once again, for the very first time in this great city of well known intellectuals, well heeled, in fact, intellectuals for whom finding space in those glittering pages of leading publications appears almost effortless, doesn't it? Before proceeding further, I request the enlightened audience and the readership to keep in mind that I am writing pretty much the old way by mining, by walking back to the memory lane, by just trying to recall uh, what I read, what I heard, what I watched, and what I experienced also. It's not that I have not taken the support of the World Wide Web, but given that the laptop snaps like my thought process once in a while or too frequently, that means I'm relying also on the old way of storytelling by recalling whatever I consumed. Okay. I request, therefore, the enlightened audience to highlight factual errors. These are not deliberate. If it requires, Even if it requires some serious reading. Interestingly, we are not a country known as a country of serious readers. Our IQ is like famously or infamously quite low in terms of like uh, leading IQ nations around the world. Uh, our two giant neighbors, have very good IQ. They are very well read, whereas we just don't read, leave alone think that much. So if these errors on my part trigger some serious reading to find the faults, that's great indeed. So let's continue. A trainload of questions. The much awaited cargo train has finally arrived in Nepal. The rail service is intended to improve freight connectivity between Calcutta in old parlance, and Nepal's industrial city of Biratnagar. By the way, the city borrows its name from King Virat of the Mahabharata era, whose kingdom, per scriptures, is said to have sheltered the Pandavas during the final year of their exile. After they lost everything to the Kauravas, their cousin brothers, in a fateful game of dice. The Mahabharata describes it as Dutakrida that was played in Hastinapur, by the way, is generally regarded as the present day Delhi. Apparently, we now takes all statecraft. This strain of statecraft is far older than the great Himalayan game. The broad gauge railway line may leave King Virat's era far behind, yet it still relies on diesel traction. It still relies on that old technology, diesel traction, at a time when many Asian economies are steadily expanding electrified freight corridors and high-speed rail networks. We are moving, but in a way, paradoxically, we seem to be moving backwards. Okay? Nepal's business community, especially the importers, who else, is understandably pleased, hoping that import bills will diminish along with many logistical hassles and hurdles associated, of course, with imports. Nonetheless, one can only hope that the service proves economically sustainable rather than becoming another diesel dependent undertaking requiring continual public support. Probable commercial gains aside, has Nepal's political leadership and officialdom looked into other aspects of this train link? I wonder all the time. I keep wondering, like, there is no end to my wondering sessions. As they say, fools keep wondering all the time, whereas The wise men have all the answers and they don't speak most of the times. That is their beauty. And when they do, disasters happen. Some of our self styled visionaries have long cherished this dream of developing Nepal as a bridge connecting China and India, Asia's two major powers. The timing, it is quite significant. The train link also comes as China, our northern neighbor, continues to pursue its vision of extending the Tibetan railway network towards Nepal, adding another dimension to the strategic competition to influence the strategic competition for influence in the Himalayas and beyond. Notably, both of our giant neighbors have signaled through their joint understanding on trade and movement of people via Lipu Lake that they are determined to pursue their mercantilist, geopolitical, and geostrategic interests, notwithstanding Nepal's territorial claims. It should be noted that Nepal bases those claims over the Kalapani Lipulek Limpiadhura area on the Treaty of Sugauli signed in 1816 as historical accounts suggest and other official documents including historical land tax records kept at Nepal's government offices such as land tax collection offices, land revenue offices, as they call it. Mm. Welcome to the great march towards what else but the Asian century. Aboard a rickety bogie, while the journey appears predestined, the destination does not. Development for whom? Despite the much talked north south connectivity, Nepal's development path, its development trajectory, does not seem to align with this idea of north south corridors. Nepal as a land bridge between the giants, regional and global giants in their own rights, China and India. For instance, a series of reservoir-based projects planned along the north-south Kali-Gandaki river corridor, including the lower bodyguard, may permanently inundate parts of that artery, casting serious doubts on the vision of Nepal, as I said earlier, as a land bridge between China and India. Worryingly, the projects might bring profound ecological changes to one of Nepal's most culturally and environmentally significant river corridors, renowned as the source of saligram. What are these saligram? They are naturally fossilized ammonites revered by followers of Sanatan Dharma around the world, across the world. Reservoir projects that significantly impact the Kaligandaki corridor may also undermine future transport alignments and the very geographical assumptions underlying the land bridge vision that our self styled visionaries have propounded. Repeated media reports over the past decade have pointed to illegal trafficking in Saligram, those sacred stones from the river with little visible enforcement. While our visionaries, self styled visionaries, rather continue to spin the land bridge yarn, the dynamic bridge yarn, I seriously wonder if a powerful geopolitical and geostrategic player like India would want a rail connection with China, with which it has a history of animosity. There is like there are friendly chapters in India-China relations also, but there are pages of like chapters of hostilities between those two countries. I wonder if India would want a connection, a rail connection at that, a high speed rail connection at that, with China through Nepal. For obvious reasons, it would not want, as things stands, as things stand as of now, not at least in the foreseeable future, India, I think, would want a rail connection with China through Nepal. The railway, the land bridge vision, and large reservoir projects reflect a common assumption that is quite like well healed in Nepal, that has taken root in Nepal, that connectivity will be a major driver of national prosperity. On the contrary, connectivity may generate this kind of cross-border connectivity may generate winners and losers in unequal measure. Given the size of Nepal, given the size, territorial size, population size of Nepal, China, and India, given the differing institutional capacities of these countries, who stands to gain? What do you think from these grand connectivity infrastructure projects? Anyone can guess that. That takes us back to Lipu Lake, a vital part of the Asian century story, of course. Yet, paradoxically, a no-go area for Nepal. Lipu Lake indeed underscores the trust deficit, threatening the very idea of Nepal as a land bridge, as a dynamic bridge between the two giants. Then, shouldn't we pause, acclimatize, and think long and hard as the air goes thinner and thinner? Development, particularly cross-border infrastructure, has assumed a formidable presence in our public discourse. But what will its true cost be in terms of, say, human displacement, loss of farmlands, and environmental degradation? Can a government struggling to manage its annual budget genuinely provide lasting rehabilitation for families displaced by such projects? Or will many households, many families eventually be left to fend for themselves with inadequate compensation? We are talking of rehabilitation, but we are a medium sized country, and where is the land for large scale rehabilitation of people? We are like a population of around 30 million people. Geography alone will not turn a nation of barely 30 million people into an export powerhouse. However, strategically it may be positioned between a combined market of nearly 3 billion consumers. This takes us back to the era of splendid isolation. Indeed, splendid isolation appears a far cry, but it may not be a bad idea after all, especially when the race for global supremacy is going full throttle. Even in our territories, as competing development projects with competing interests, contradictory interests, rival interests. So let's leave these troubles at home behind and let's just go to the Americas of the 19th century. In that century, successive discoveries of rich deposits of gold and silver in the sparsely populated American West spurred gold and silver rushes, accelerating railway expansion, influxes of European settlers, and a series of wars that dispossessed Native American nations of their ancestral lands. Around the same period, the British denuded the sal forests of Nepal's Tarai for laying railway sleepers, what else, in their new colonial territories, known later as India. Our government officials and geologists, they haven't quietly discovered vast deposits of precious minerals, have they? They haven't discovered vast deposits of rare earths, have they? If not, what explains this dash for rail when Nepal's own domestic railway network remains, by and large, a figment of imagination? Advocates argue that rail lowers logistic logistics costs, reduces dependence on road transport, and improves industrial competitiveness. Those expected gains, however, should be weighed against strategic independence, environmental costs, and ecological loss also, and the long-term consequences of large-scale infrastructure projects on terrains vulnerable to disasters like landslides, quakes, flooding, uh, uh, lack of rainfall, prolonged periods of droughts and sudden rainfall, GLOF, that is glacial lake outburst floods, these kinds of disasters, man made or otherwise. Nepal's political leadership and officialdom probably know the answers to these questions, but they are most likely to speak with sealed lips unless another opportunity for a public cafe comes along, whether in Parliament or elsewhere. Epilogue. As for me, a small time columnist struggling to gain a foothold among a clique of larger than life figures of the opinion industry, the fact that the kukri wilding Nepalese roaring with the battle cry Ayo Gorkhali had absolutely nothing to do with Argentina's latest football defeat at the hands of Spain is a source of no small solace. Not every triumph in the theaters of war or elsewhere needs the imprint of Nepali Bahaduri, that is, Nepali bravery. O tempura, O moors, how I yearn for splendid isolation, even as the Asian century, the American century, and the checkered legacies of older empires cast their long shadow on the high Himalayas and far beyond. With this, I have come to this edition of Corner Kick. Thank you for watching and thank you for listening. Keep thinking.